أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن سيدنا حبيبنا مولانا محمدا عبده ورسوله أرسله بالحق بشيرا ونذيرا وداعيا إلى الله بإذنه وسراجا منيرا. أما بعد. Dear brothers and sisters, Ramadan is not very far away from us. As soon as we leave here, most of us will be preparing for the fasting month of Ramadan. A lot is expected of it from all of us, of course, and we all try the level best to ensure we maximize the benefits. One of the lectures that was given very recently as part of this co-program was talking about, if you remember, connection, correction and direction as the three principles. And I want to understand and explain that in the light of the concept of Ramadan. And I think if you look at it closely, you can see the similarities between what was being talked and how we approach this concept of fasting and Ramadan as a whole. He Azza wa Jal in the Quran says, كُتِبَ عَلَيْكُمُ الصِّيَامُ كَمَا كُتِبَ عَلَى الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِكُمْ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. Fasting has been made an obligation upon all of you, just like it was made an obligation upon those who came before you. لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ, so that you may be able to attain God consciousness. God consciousness is not anything but a state of being. A state of mind where we have refined and developed our thinking to be aware of our surrounding, to be aware of where we come from, and to be aware of our priorities, and in that light, to do the right thing at the right time, and have the right tools to be able to deal with those challenges that we face on a daily basis. That is God consciousness. When one of the companions of the Prophet was asked, Oh Umar, please tell us, what do you know about God consciousness? He said, God consciousness is about a narrow path that you take, so full of thorns and obstacles that every move you make, you run the risk of hurting yourself or touching or ripping your clothes in that process. And taqwa, God consciousness, is about the tool that you use to protect yourself from any potential harm or any of these harms. So we here have learned in the recent days a concept called connection, correction and direction. Let me explain this concept in the light of Ramadan, in the light of God consciousness, and most importantly, in the light of the month that we have in front of us. Number one, first 10 days of Ramadan is dedicated, as the saying of Rasulullah is concerned, towards the nights or the days of Rahmah. Rahmah meaning mercy, compassion. It is the time of connection where you and I make our connection with God again. For the 11 months of the year when we haven't done that, or we have lacked in doing so, this is the opportunity to do that. How do we do that? By worshipping extra, by refraining from eating and drinking and desires that we will otherwise be able to fulfill during the daylight hours, but you don't throughout the whole day. In other words, you don't only restrain, but you also refrain. Both work hand in hand. Restraining and refraining are part and parcel of that, developing a refined conscience, a development of our connection with God. So the first 10 days of Ramadan should be devoted in connection, in ensuring that we understand what we are doing. God does not need the starvation of those people or fasting of those people who just stop eating and drinking throughout the day and do all sorts of bad and terrible things with other human being or fellow human being for that matter throughout the fasting hour. So for example, there is a saying of the Prophet, which is, a person who was fasting, while fasting was backbiting, and they felt they were very faint and very unwell, and they asked Prophet permission to break their fast. And Prophet said to them, well, you've already broken your fast. You've been backbiting. Backbiting while fasting almost nullifies, it doesn't nullify it completely, but almost weighs to the point where it becomes null and void, the fact that you've been starving the whole day. God doesn't need the starvation of those people who, while fasting, do all the things that they're not supposed to do with their tongue. While fasting, if somebody comes to argue or quarrel with us, the advice of the Prophet is, say, I'm fasting, I am not interested. If somebody comes to gossip with us, we turn around and say, sorry, I'm not interested in listening to your gossip. If we want to say something about somebody, if it's not good, we should keep our mouth shut. These are the advice of our Prophet about the month of Ramadan, the way we should refine our mouth, our minds, our hearts, and everything about us. Not just the stomach and our thirst, but also our character and our behavior and our thinking. Connection again requires you to understand that at the height of refraining and restraining from eating and drinking, every part of our body, especially the sensory nerves, are so aware and alert. The smallest thing triggers off a whole wave of emotion. For example, if you're walking along the kitchen and somebody is cooking in the month of Ramadan, especially during the fasting hours, my God, food does smell wonderful. Why? Because every taste bud in your body is acutely aware of the lack of food. Every taste bud in your body is acutely aware of the lack of drinks that you have been not having whole day. Similarly, every other part of our body is aware. Our anger, we can fray very quickly. We can be hot-tempered because we have not eaten. People become agitated quickly, frustrated quickly, impatient quickly. Month of Ramadan brings to the fore all